Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. And what a time we're in. Everything's changed all of a sudden, and we find ourselves coming into a recession. We are in a recession, and the coronavirus has hit, and people are finding themselves in different situations. So how do we emerge from quarantine with our finances intact? Well, my guest expert today is Ericka Young, and she is the founder of Tailor-Made Budgets, which she started in 2005 after her and her husband Chris climbed out of nearly 100,000 in debt. She became a certified financial coach with Dave Ramsey and combines her passion for helping people create debt reduction techniques so that you can find your path to financial freedom. Ericka's best-selling book, Naked and Unashamed, 10 Money Conversations Every Couple Must Have, was released in February 2007 worldwide, and she currently teaches her message of debt freedom in her newsletter, personal and group coaching workshop, and speaking engagements. Now, we invited Ericka. This is her second time on the show. Ericka was with us before chatting about, as a couple, what conversations do you have about money? And I really loved her message. I really love what she shared with us. So I invited her back to talk about, well, you know where you are now. People have no jobs. Things have changed. There's a different outlook. There's a different way of being. And we're finding ourselves more than ever financially strapped. So Ericka, what do we do?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. What I have found is that people tend to be in a few different camps. Some people have lost jobs, and that means a significant portion of income. And some people have lost a portion of their income, not all of it. And what I'm also finding as we're coming out of quarantine, some positions are taking a reduction in pay for a season. And typically it's about a quarter. So 3 months with up to a 25% pay cut for some folks. And so that's troubling. And there's a lot of questioning around how long we will be in this middle ground before we actually have some type of vaccine, or if we know that people have antibodies to the coronavirus. And so there's a lot of uncertainty, and our money is being affected because of that uncertainty. And so you've got to really start and locate where you at first. I think that's just to understand what your income is and your outgo, and is there a deficit? And those are the first places to look and see what's really going on in your personal finances.
Yeah, because, people don't realize until they hit a situation like this. Now, I want to talk about two things. First is how you set up so you don't end this situation again.
Yeah.
But first of all, sometimes people don't take care of their finances till a situation like this comes along where they find themselves really up, in trouble. So a really good place is what you're saying, Ericka, to start is, well, let's take an overall look and see where I am right now.
Right. Yeah, there's two places. One is in your budget. First of all, you need to know what it takes to run your household minimally. And so that includes your household expenses, utilities, food, and transportation. So making certain that those things are absolutely taken care of, and what is the total amount needed so that those can continue to be on time every time and you've got food on the table. So add that up, know what your dollar amount is, in addition to adding up what your current income is. And so people have, this is a big picture look at a budget. So it's not getting into the nitty gritty details of when things are due and when you get paid, but it's looking at the big picture. If you have all these sources of income and all of these must-haves that go out, is it balanced? You also need to look at your debt. So the best thing that you can do to make certain that you don't end up here again, or that you're coming out of quarantine in a decent place, is don't add new debt. So I understand lots of folks keep credit cards. I'm not a huge fan of credit cards, but if you have them, please set them aside, move them away. We don't want to spend extra at this time. We just want to make certain that we don't have new debt. And then the other thing to look at is how much do you have in savings and how long will it last you? So how much is in savings? So there are people who are in the middle who have had a pay reduction or were furloughed for a season, and they're not taking currently any type of unemployment because they still are gainfully employed or they've returned to work. But either due to some loss of income for a season, or right now for the next 3 months, they have a reduced income, their budget might be strapped. And so you want to see how much in savings you have to weather that storm. And so if your budget needs an extra $200 a month just to balance, and you've got $2,000 in savings, great. You can do that for a season until your income goes back up. So, but you have to look at the numbers in order to know if there is a deficit, and then subsequently what to do about it.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. So basically in the budget, we're looking at, what the bills are, what are the necessities, right? So you're looking at your bare minimum, not things you want or like or wish you had. So just to survive. And then we're going to look at our debt and not add to it. That's correct. And savings. So savings can kick in here and get you out of a hole, right?
Yeah. And I'm finding that a lot of people are wishing they actually had more money in savings. And I'm also finding that if they don't have savings, a lot of people want to know what they can do. And so here's a couple of tips for people. One is, because of the shutdown, there were lots of things you couldn't do. So personal care, entertainment, gas was reduced. You probably couldn't dine out unless you did some takeout and brought it home. There's a lot of things in your budget that you aren't spending on during this season. And I would gather continue that behavior even as the states reopen, even as more and more amenities are being made available. Reconsider, do I need to do these things even as we begin to open up, especially if your income has been affected? So maybe your budget.
I'm just interrupting here. Sure. Let's chat as well worldwide, because I'm in Ireland, so we're talking to Europe, States, and everywhere. And it's amazing because it's such a worldwide problem.
Yes, it is. And I think that people need to understand that even as, we're in different places, but we've all been affected, a lot of people don't really understand. You don't have to go back to life as normal with your money. So, depending.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So if we were overspending, if you were debting, if you were going down a path where it wasn't going to be financially beneficial, this hopefully is your wake up call to say, okay, what can I do differently? How can I manage this in a better way? What do I wish I was doing prior to the coronavirus hitting us all? And then looking at it and saying, how can I adjust so that I'm no longer in this place again? So maybe you have a never again moment. Maybe you have never again will my savings go beneath this amount, or never again will I spend on my credit card without paying it off. And how do you protect those statements by having a budget that keeps your savings up higher, or that allows you to pay your debt off so that you don't have strangling debt in the midst of this type of situation? For some people, it might be bigger decisions. Maybe they've got too much house. They're spending too much on their home or their rent, and they need to make some big changes in terms of, I can't spend this much money on this in the budget because down the line, I don't ever want to feel cash strapped. So the big picture is to look at your finances and say, man, now that this has happened and I see that we were quarantined for this amount of time. The government helped a little bit, or, I wish that I had done this. Let's reevaluate and say, moving forward, lesson learned. How can I go through my financial life in a better way as we're all reopening?
I love that. Moving forward, lesson learned. I love that because it's so true. Like, there's an opportunity in everything, even though it looks bad at the moment.
Yeah.
We only end up in these places because of our habits prior, and it's like what you said is, if we put our habits in a different way going forward, our ability to cope if this was to reoccur could be very different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's put ourselves in a better position and learn from our financial mishaps. The other thing is, like, if you were spending in certain areas, again, just reevaluate, how much of this do I really need? I love to say to people, think about how much and how often. How much were you spending in each of these areas and how often were you doing it? And then ask the question, do I really need to go back to that previous way of living? Is this what I prefer? Is this serving my goals? Is this helping me to move forward financially? And if the answer is no, then you just need to reevaluate how much you're spending in those areas.
Okay, I like it. So, as a person emerging from quarantine, my finances are not in the best place. I want to turn it around. We've mentioned a few things here. So, what's kind of the 1, 2, 3 of getting this right going forward?
Well, always have an emergency fund. Always have an emergency fund. So always have some money set aside that isn't a part of the budget. It is your cushion. It is your, rainy day fund. It is the funds you use in the event of some type of emergency. And we definitely went through that. And so just evaluate, do I have it? Do I need it? And how much do I need there? I always say at least $1,000 or up to at least your rent or your mortgage. And then if you have a bigger family, it might need to be bigger than that to start off with if you are in debt. If you are in debt, reduce your debt, get out of debt. Because think about the burden that people have if they've got debt payments on a monthly basis. And I will personally speak for myself that at one point, my husband and I had over $1,000 per month in debt payments. And
wow.
how challenging it is to pay that in addition to those basic necessities that I mentioned. And so getting out of debt reduces the amount of money that you need to make your household function. So getting out of debt is absolutely huge.
I agree with you, Ericka, about the debt thing, because a lot of people were going along and, we're sold in society, have a car loan, your mortgage, blah, 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 blah. I know mortgage can be seen as separate, but when the money stops coming in, you'd be surprised how much of your money is just going out every month and they do not stop, that are just going to consumer debt.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think people need to add that up. That's why adding up your basic necessities and then adding up the debt separately so you can see those numbers differently. And people need to understand, wow, okay, wait a minute. $1,000 is 1/4 of my take home pay. I'm not okay with that. And so then what are you going to do about that? So you reduce your debt and you're in a better position financially. So those are the things that people need to evaluate.
So set up my emergency fund, really go forward of getting out of debt. And what would you do next?
Yeah. So part of in this process is looking at your budget to say, what are my needs and my wants so that you're making good decisions. If you do that, it'll be easier to figure out how to get more money into your emergency fund, or it'll be easier to figure out how much more to put towards debt reduction. And so I think it's kind of sitting in some stillness and understanding, okay, here's my overall financial picture. And this is a budget, but you don't have to get so minute into the details as much as the big picture of my total amount of spending versus my total amount of income. And again, this is a place where you just are reflective and say, am I okay with this? What can I do to increase my income or decrease my outgo longer term?
Yeah, decreasing. Yeah, so decreasing what your money's been spent on, and then looking at how could I increase my income. But isn't there like a law where the more money we earn, the more we spend.
You know what? There's a lot of us can fall into that trap. But the key is, do you have goals big enough that you're willing to go the distance for, right? So I talked about two major goals, having some savings and getting out of debt. And if you make more income with the intention of putting more towards your goals, then there's that difference. You're being very intentional. The other thing is, I like people to see, look at how long it's going to take you to get out of debt now. And then think about, if you increase your income by a certain amount, how much more quickly you can get out of debt. And so if you're shaving off your time in debt and reducing it by a year or 2 years because you have extra income, that also is motivating. So I think people need to do some calculations to see the benefits of increasing their income, and then subsequently making certain that those dollars, that money goes towards them being able to get faster towards their goal.
People struggle to make more income, right? A lot of people say are on low-wage jobs, they're long hours, and don't always get the time to say work more, whatever. So how can somebody who's kind of, and it's the same with debt, right? I'm kind of throwing them all into one. Maybe I'm putting too much at once here. But when somebody has this kind of rollover habit of say they're in debt, or they're on a low-wage job, like, what needs to happen for that person to break the pattern, I suppose? Yeah.
Well, honestly, yes, let's talk about the income first. Sometimes it's a process, and it's really okay to be in a process of looking to increase your income over time. And so maybe it's a skill set you need to learn. Maybe there's some mentorship at work. How can you advance in the company or in the job that you're in so that you can increase your income and get some help and assistance there? And then also, make certain that you take an inventory of your skill sets and you know how you add value, how much money you've saved the company, things of that nature, so that you can have some quantifiable reasons when you're talking to your boss or the decision maker in getting you a raise as well. But the other side of that coin is just, is there a way for you to do some work on the side to increase income, start a business, have some type of service that you offer people for, a little extra money on the side. And so just thinking outside the box sometimes will bring in other ideas that you can do in order to bring in extra income. And then on the other end of that is keeping your expenses low while you're trying to reach specific goals. So I definitely think you should reward yourself along the way, but I think that maybe you want to reduce your income for a series of 3 or 6 months so that you can reach one of the goals. Maybe it's paying off a specific debt or getting your savings to a certain level, and then saying, okay, so I'm going to treat myself or celebrate in some way, because it might take you a while, so you have to be patient. But when you celebrate along the way, it makes the journey much more enjoyable.
Isn't one of the secrets as well is a lot of people are like, oh, in order to, gain financial freedom or change my life or come out of this quarantine, I must have more money. But it's actually looking at your expenses where you can make a massive difference. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there are so many different areas that people can look at: entertainment, personal care, looking at the services that you don't currently have. You might have reduced gas during quarantine. There's lots of things that, people aren't shopping near as much as they were. And so you have to kind of look back and say, how much of this do I really need as we start to open up or go back to a new normal life? And you have to be realistic and honest with yourself, especially if you have goals to reach. So just know that it's okay to continue to say no to some of that stuff that you had no choice but to say no to while we were shut down or in quarantine.
Thank you, Ericka. This has been amazing. I think as anyone listening to this gets a lot from this. So first of all, we look at the bigger picture. What do we minimally need to survive? So that's like food, shelter, that kind of thing, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And then not to fall back into this place, emergency fund, clear your debt.
Yeah.
The budget, just quickly, just to kind of go there a little bit. What budget, when people hear that, sometimes they're like, ugh. So what's a good concrete way of doing it without, feeling like this is the worst thing I could ever do?
Yeah. Well, honestly, first of all, it doesn't matter what you call it. So if the word itself has a negative connotation for you, it's totally fine to just call it a money plan. It's fine to call it a spending plan. It's fine to, my freedom plan, whatever it is, call it whatever you want. But it is your path to success. Here's why. Your budget can show you areas of opportunity that you can improve. It can show you places where you can reduce spending or gain some freedom. I also tell people, when you put something in the budget, it gives you freedom to spend there. So you are in control of it. The budget is not in control of you. You control it because you created it. And so it's a mindset shift there. And then the other part is it doesn't have to be so overly complicated. Sometimes we make it worse than it really has to be. So I want people to get, as detailed as they can, but I also do not want them, if there's a really small, tiny item, don't feel like you have to budget down to the smallest, tiny item, right? We don't have to budget for every single drink that we buy, right? But we do need to have a little bit of wiggle room, a little fun money, a little cushion, because that is what makes the budget a healthy one, and it gives you some good, clear boundaries. So I think part of the thing that people miss with when they're creating these budgets or plans is that they don't put fun in and they don't put cushion in to keep them from feeling like they're living so far on the edge. If you can keep those things in mind, that'll be a huge win for you.
And the actual paradox is it actually gives you freedom.
Absolutely.
I love it. Ericka, thank you. So yes, get out of debt, the budget, have something to strive for. And then, as you say, coming out of quarantine, it can be a great time to start a business because, as you said, Ericka, things have changed. There's new business emergence, new way of thinking, new way of being, and there's an opportunity there. And just having those little few steps and knowing they're there and knowing little by little, you can turn this around.
Yep.
Your life will be in a very different place, even a couple of months from now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Keep moving forward.
Thank you, Ericka. So how does somebody find out more about you, and do you have anything to let people know about?
Yeah, so I do have a 7-day money challenge, 7daymoneychallenge.com, and it's one video each day for 7 days. And it's just a short 3 to 4 minute video, but it gives you some little tips and tools about how to manage your money better and move forward. So that's one way to get in touch with me, and then you'll get on my newsletter list from there. My website is Tailor-Made Budgets. I'm not afraid of the word budgets. So tailormadebudgets.com, and you can reach me there as well. Also on Instagram or social platforms too.
Thank you, Ericka. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your wise words.
Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, remember to join us in the Private Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group with me, your host, Lorna Poole. This is a safe haven of like-minded, wealth-getting go-getters who, like you, are on their journey to creating financial freedom in their life. This is where you and I can get intimate. I can give you the support and guidance to go from where you are now to where you want to be, developing your wealth mindset and creating your financial freedom life. Join at www.facebook.com/groups The Financial Freedom Podcast. You will see the links to this on the website. It's in the show notes, or type it into the Facebook group. All you have to type in is Financial Freedom Podcast and you will see us there. Look forward to seeing you in the group. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 steps to breaking free from your poverty mindset and accelerating your journey to financial freedom. See you there.